EOCO fo akwakochi opening kese bi e wo Kotoka International Airport wa bra o dwane Afri Ghana
President Mahama ne fere fo ye hwan ne fa nkoti ni so
Lordina
and yire no ampa
the flight to Brofuyeju. Now to our findings. The helicopter was airworthy, but it lacked additional safety enhancements.
NDC a worker here domanim a worker here in the sense that
NPP mom na ekwa kowu abusua mamo akoba ebiem emra dwumadie so ensem bebre ene ekoso ewo oman Ghana mo afanasi yere mu nsem nyina ebasese me no kase EOCO fobo mo homoden akwakoche politician kese bi ewo airport after senka odwane afri oman Ghana mo ni nyina ne se wabo oman no krono a oman no eno no edintinka ofa ho a na kwadwane afri oman Ghana nanso EOCO fobo mo homoden ama womonsa aso opening kese yi mu opening kese be ya quick one commander edi mu nsem nyina ebeba na afi no bibia ay kama finally enhwehwemu aba be todwa ama aeroplane na ekonya accident ewo obuasem potam ho a ema mpanimfo 8 ehwe wo nkwa ewo oman Ghana mu no enhwehwemu aba be todwa ama information bebre ene freche ba commander edi mu nsem nyina ebasia me no kasei His Excellency John Dramani Mahama the condition et say otensem no edian ena ekoso quick one yebero ho na afeni yedin komo eno da nchen a NPP amanyuko no NDC ahead of 2028 general election edian ena ekoso adronya kwako din komo bi ama nkomo na chi no ensema esisi ache ne sewani ensesame ena me kacho baransa na commander yebe ransem nim no bebe se nya boche na ekotie sansem we eba chama Wontumi nsem no as information bia leaky ewo ho a Poliando wasakan ho biem wa leaky information bi ti message for say ansa na yebe se program na se no yenkonkotie we mra enkomo akoso ewo Poliando ahweye na Poliando nkomo no nso ayana se yetia esa entertainment yetiensem no a serious matter but yebesan so asre ntienya botre na yentiensem imra de koso ewo tama Wontumi ahye yekoba yere mu nsem nyina ebeba because the same no kasei tama Wontumi ekwakopa His Excellency John Dramani Mahama chose boni a waye ni bia no onfanche no quick one yentimra
ko to ye nu ha we declare sa de na to Wontumi so enti ede ne di avan to me ede share yensa ede yes ade no I don't know me chase o ti ase eti da court be ka se wedi boni eti efa ene ede be fa na mu be ye biem o ti ase ede be fa na mu be ye biem so because ade amaye court bi enu o ma mu permission se mo nya sa ade no mo grantee bibia court grantee bibia ma mo na mo amode mo pe na mo de yes ade we eti da e bia court be ka se wa yese ne eno de ede be fa na mo be ye ena mo be boja kunu preko ana sesen
obi send me message bi say say ni spray no cry out this spray no one who wo mo fa ko say wo mo de ko investigation
eno so
abeka ho bra ni pa cross
ya se ni spray nyina
ai de do spray no ho no ne ehwe no ne ade no
ati asem kura nia na se ni perfume
ai
tata ko mi na den perfume de gu ye hu ye hwam no
ai ekọ
eti won ko court na ne ho ko bon enchire judge no na sembeni ye jama nyame
imu wa yanso me konnim
ye jama nyame
ti mumia mompaye na yemfa macha
baba mi ye bebo pa na me de me di nyame di se otini ni wo hui na mane edoso otini wo hui na mane edoso so awrade eyi me free ni nyina mo awrade beyi chairman free sao how ne abebrese beyi na free and the national chairman agenda no so de NDC for pum wo mum pew obedi chairman no ama MPP
de bi no kase ebia ne nsɛm bi a ɔka yɛ no so kora ka ho bi na wonko sɛ kane no ka sɛ mampani Mahama ɔba Kumasi a gye sɛ ɔno wama no ayi ansa na permission ansa na watumi aba aha ne ade ebinom sɛ ebia no kora so ka ho bi
ba kwa me be no kra ye no kra ye nyina agitum sometimes no ebia o kasa trap o tiase o kasa trap ni nyina ya amanyofu yi ye nyina no isem ni bi ho edru ho abrakwa me ye kan o tiase President Mahama no kra sometimes no campaign time o kan sem ni bi na no ade ya wan say ewutu senya di kaswa MP ho na akoyo o si yakuni agent mienu ono amusu etuo ni ade abobọ ni ka mu ni ade ta wo boa meboa
ai
report nyina ba ubia ka se maami wanimu aguasi na bepacho wasa de camera si nanimu ka se na je ne wan ka se de o ti afi wo bia wo se we kanto eti nsem ni bi wo ho a ya na ye ka ye ka iti ya koya mayofu ide ya fantite ye ho President Mahama ejedi tum nsem ni bi wo ho a what try what come and try be a co-personal the way I tell myself my passionate about it ye near ni bi a co-personal to himself no and I make am what this also na Wontumi so kan nsem ni bi co-personal ye pa ho chew abakwa mi na say President Mahama ne fere fo ye hwan ni en fan ko si ni so o ti ase ni fere fo ye hwan boa me from ne fere fo pa
wo ma Lordina
na me si ni so
ma Lordina
an yire no ampa
odono
pa mede mahunu mami mede mahunu
mi wie program no a meye course bi na maka kire na agya yakọ
the fish say enu betimi aboa pa wo se nipa bia ne ferefo wo ho a ya na timi boa na ensem ni bi wo ho a yatimi akosere ne ya pachew wo ensem ni bi ho
na ya kokwa na se
ko personal dodo
yakọ na se bi kura wo hwe aduane a ye begina so awo ya ye bibia kama se na obusi ekwan so a ne ya de ato nanim
ba kwa ni enu anu na sum kwa so ni yeko o ti ase aha
enu to bi na wo so ebebi
menya body bi asonson bi a de akwa ko si ni so na eja de apacho ama no na ye fancy ma me so o de akọ tuo bi a no won fanche na ohun ye nyina mobo na me akra me nya maso mi akwa mi go ye ti no ana mi drum kai yeah enkrabra boso nya de da fom
dia ne bode
bre pa mo bre won kai tino ye ni na madru ho ba so a enya asem ketwa enkrabra bode enye izu mo tuo sa mu wu pa na mo tiso mo nya na mo mre kumase ntisa
ya se ba eja bo ma me na wasere mi se nyampa ma nti mi yes akọ no wi a na ye tu ho na mo
ba kwa me meshu anim pa na ye nkopa chew na nsem ni bi wa unje mu na akoma no mrafo ko de eto no de ni spray ni na yi a yakọ hu de
na wo fa spray wo je so
yi a nsa
ba ebebre so okura na ote ano nche
wa shu onu dunya de obeto de ne buofo
debi
o ti ase tese ba kwa me yem kopa chew
okay commander
yeah director
and then some no dosun
of course
because serious matters ewa ha
yeah
inti poliando nkoma wadi
okay
me pesa ube waste time ewa ho sa
okay
be 1 minute pe yeni ho nkomo na fa yenko serious matter so
wow director I mean that was in the first place I mean check before now
but then upon live yankomo ni more de
nko emode na unim say ahwefo ni bi akai made bi yen subscribers no ene na me ko hu say ahwefo ni bi congratulate say edru 100k
oh da 100k no de edru ya che ti ahwefo no quick one ebebo mo baso
of course
o ma ya adwuma
well director on the issue of poyando no kure ni nyamianim ni poyando minim say oh sricha ma Wontumi o say oh kabi buando
oh but then plan na enka wo ma fa no so no
okay
I think say enka be bua o
director
enko mo nko pa John Dramani Mahama chew
director enai John Dramani Mahama say emrachi obi a oni control ono kra mrachi na yema mrani ni enti on person na point bia ebe involve no ho ewo bonim na mrachi wa ya beka se mampani nka bi ontimi nka bi ene nyina nim se eye attorney general ena oni chama Wontumi twema nsom eye Ghana ni chama Wontumi eni se mampani John Dramani Mahama timi kase boyando ne nkrofo afa ne yire so abepa chew endi yemfa nchede a obi a waye boni bia no ebekọ president mama yire ho akopa chew
engineer se atama Wontumi edi his excellency John Dramani Mahama ewo kromu a to the sense wo kan se president Mahama afa ne made nyina no sebi ni nyina no president Mahama anya chama Wontumi hwe ba we se no eye oman no ne chama Wontumi di
oman no ne chama Wontumi di at this moment aji so me de ball no court go no o ti say yes wadidi mampani atem ewata so onim no mo ko mampani John Dramani Mahama ne yire kwa ne yire begusa chama Wontumi question de brese o se mi kunu ebe fa mi made e ma mi freedom beto so sansem ni nyina be say piempo enti the best thing is say omo nsan kwhye maame na bufuo e ma maame ne mfa yawo ensan kwasi chama Wontumi ewata omo nyai asem no na attorney general any omni ene Ghana ni chama Wontumi na anya poyando de we know him say e dede no ope so ogine din enti nsam we baaye no obaya no de agine din ewata baabi e gina nei emfa ho ne chopa do obepa enkosi aga emra no ene wo se ene chama Wontumi di enti do betima ye ba akopɛ omo pelo ye ni a obetimi twitwa ye chama Wontumi na chama Wontumi wo evidence a omo mwa no na onko presenting evidence na ye nya no
ese ni spirit nyina wo ma sese wo then ase wo mo gro chama Wontumi wo
ewata wonim aha na ma se chama Wontumi sorry to say oni adomfo
dabi
because se watie nkomo ni ya atwetwe ni spray nyina o ma force ye o ma fa ni spray aka ho ana no so ma sesa ni ntade nyina okọ to onya tade nhye this a t-shirt but you listen to this kind of things ya na wa dwa kire o say eye adidi atam ni ehuro bi e no mo no but asem ni say asa ye do na mum wo chi no yempawasem ewata akwa kodru stage a say chama Wontumi yire tifie na odie the kind of conversation a omo so omo chama Wontumi no omo have e woni back a ne rebe ho enei ewata chama Wontumi ni hweka say ye ne be kono because ono a ne pe konto a ne pe na homa
eso no kon
say wan fa ne ho ankwa anka sem we ma I agree with them omo every right to say omo be shada say you defend no eso no omo kan gum ke de ko say omo betima akogwo fufuo ama mampani yiri nyina na ko ye ndo so da hyem so ene omo nya abode bi asonson a
okay
right very bad but omo nya na emra enye na dwuma
quick one commander yeni kan ko de hin so okay manya ne ntie so panin kase bi nka wo dwane
of course
every oman Ghana mu ama mpanifo akwakoche no
of course
quick one kitwa bi yenwa sansem nim ansa na yakọ helicopter ne so
wow right we very good news edema Ghana ni nyina ne se EOCO akwakoche opanin kase bi e wo Kotoka International Airport wa bra o dwane every Ghana akọ Mozambique na ni nyina ne se Ghana Bost Company Limited me kire Bulk Oil Storage and Transportation Company Limited. Moska ho po mo na hwe ye oil ni nyina aso. Bani ana oda no Edward Provincial na do appoint in 2019 and a scandal we see here in 2022 na God for oil no ono na osan di animu na EOCO for ehwehwe ni nsemu iya omode top alert ato no so say ontimi ntukwan free Ghana jesi ahwehwe ni nsemu awie eno na owia ne ho a ka ofa anajuda suom akofa Kotoka International Airport akopiem e wo Mozambique na EOCO for say ye ni tete ho ba bia befa bia emti se de EOCO for achena o hye wo makache
na kan oforiata kire wo mo kwan no kan oforiata dwefoi wache wo mo kwan se ubokro no obetimi adwane afro man Ghana mu kwa ye nyohwe
of course
entinga ko opening kese ensu dwane no de onko US onko UK because hono Ghana fo bebre ho aye behu tunko ko Mozambique
na kwache we kra de ma me hu se oye nipa boni ni se Elian 70 by no se o God for oil de omo yo madwuma fenchem enti amanfo nya dede na aban ne hwehwemu bi ababa bia no ye bebu no kra ewom ene ye de stop alert ato so se ontimi ntu kwan traga na kopim se behwehwemu na wie ohu kurokura wokoso okọ Mozambique Erata Ghana ni ben what say we politician or say o tu kwa kwatena Mozambique ana okogina hu Mozambique Erata we eye nyansa kwan a kenoforata kire wo mo entina dweye ne say so ukọ US aye behu ukọ UK behu ukọ Germany behu ne enei ma menwane nko Mozambique okohye Mozambique akra obetia na wo free Mozambique erata obehunu se Swaziland over Swaziland ya obechinchini minor African countries so sa na wa yere na cheko she Australia baby at the end of the day wa yere na chi erata enai yemo EOCO abaso se wotu na wo se EOCO fo ene aban no eye arrest ya ontiase a the right I was what say kire say enipa wa waje tum say ye hwehwe wo nsemu ni aka cho so ke tenaga na hwehwe wo nsemu wi a ni ama kwan mo tu kwan ye hwehwe wo nsemu no opesa wo tu kwan a anka ko EOCO fo ho efa ko tu o manim say there is an emergency issue one kwa enye yie
o da bi se we se no nko o dwane ankasa o
right enti be
se enye dwumadie bia o dwane
da bi enti o dwane afi o manim na wei obi ka kire yen say oye kromfo wa bokro no a mo say da ne ye ka so kromfo yenye nchi no ye prove with evidence of kromfo say attorney general be press conference na o ka say with investigation ma ye o ka say Mr. Edward Provincala na o god for oil na o lead no oye suspect oye kromfo a o make say attorney general pededi but nipa no so dwane Africa na ha the right say be say o mutirim say oya bokoboko na odwane free Ghana say the kero for that aye no the same thing so baba Ghana had a very difficult what nyina ye need ho EOCO for ye adwuma yie obia sabi or handle officer yesu say bibi course bia no what they should handle him very well na emra eni ni
commander yem free sansam no so na me wagidie se ayefo etie program ni nyina no omo be drop it wo mo comment e wo comment section wona afi no omo so atre wo mo adwen afasa issue ya ye dia tudwai opening case yanko odwane every my Ghana quick one and say resource na ba na resource no ba no Ghana 40 boom ai helicopter crash no quick one yenko tiemra yamfa omane boa ma mutala Muhammad mo Mr. Samuel Sapon mo ai unyamfa mo kransia sojafo kowu ye abuaje mo abusua ai resource na ba yensen tiemra ketua bi ekoba information bu acha ebedi ho nkomo.
The flight to Brofuyedro was uneventful. Brofuyedro is approximately 90 miles from Accra, about 10 miles from Obuasi. As the flight approached Obuasi, visibility deteriorated rapidly due to mist and low clouds. At 9:56, the crew entered IMC, which is Instrument Meteorological Conditions. To the layman, it is they flew into clouds because they no longer could stay away from the clouds, so they flew into clouds and transitioned to IFR. Now, IFR is Instrument Flight Rules. So what it means is they now transitioned from navigating using visual cues to now navigation solely on the aircraft's instruments. The crew then initiated a climb to cross terrain that they were aware of. They initiated the climb to cross the terrain. Seconds before impact, the crew stated that they could see the high ground below, so they had gone over it. Suddenly thereafter, the helicopter that was flying up without any change in its power or in the pitch which we use to go up and down, suddenly lost height and impacted a ridgeline at about 1370 feet above sea level. And this is about 6.5 miles from the destination, and this happened at 9:58. Is what the planned track had been. The purple line is what the aircraft actually flew. And that took place because it was avoiding clouds and so on and ended up where it was. Now to our findings. The helicopter was airworthy, but it lacked additional safety enhancements. For instance, the terrain awareness warning system. Now, you know, the terrain awareness warning system, for instance, is predictive. So what it does is it tells you, warns you, it gives you a better picture of the situation and puts the pilots in it gives them, puts them in a position to make better judgments, to be able to see everything and be able to foretell if there are any things that could possibly create a problem. But they lack the additional safety enhancements required for the weather phenomenon over that terrain. There was adverse weather, there was limited visibility, there was rising rugged terrain. With this terrain induced complicating factors, and there were no ground-based navigational route aids en route. The investigation would like to say that from everything they gathered, the emergency response was very timely. The fact that these first responders managed to get to the site in about 2 hours was remarkable, because the terrain has very steep slopes. It was raining, it was slippery. So it wasn't the easiest thing to do. When we went to the site, it was also raining and it was very slippery. And we struggled using sticks and everything to try to get up there. So looking at everything, we would say very confidently that the emergency response was very timely. The investigation determined that the accident was caused by the sudden loss of altitude and lift due to downdraft. This loss of altitude without change in power or pitch altitude is consistent with downdraft associated with changing environmental conditions over high terrain. In our findings also, we said there's limited national navigational capacity, a capability for en route and remote area weather services. We also looked at training and realized that the Air Force doesn't have much simulator training. We looked at flight monitoring and realized that there was no flight data monitoring also taking place. For flight following and tracking of aircrafts, we realized that it was also not there. There's no secondary surveillance radar, no automatic dependent surveillance broadcasts, or any other real-time tracking of aircraft. Our safety recommendations. There is a definite need to modernize the fleet of the Ghana Air Force. We have recommended that the Air Force acquire modern aircraft with terrain avoidance warning systems and modern navigation systems. That the aircraft should have cockpit voice recorders and flight data recorders, which are the audiovisual capable types. That the Air Force should invest in simulators for recurrent training. That they contract certified aviation weather provider or providers, and that Ghana as a nation should try to have en route navigational aids, especially in remote areas. The Air Force should seriously consider establishing flight data monitoring and en route tracking systems. And finally, we believe that they need to acquire ground support equipment, modernize what they have. In conclusion, the helicopter accident was an unfortunate and sudden weather-related accident. Implementing the safety recommendations will prevent the reoccurrence of future accidents.
Arahu papa na asam nso hadwen but we dey omukọ
of course
na so ye man ye tutu ni ye
right assembly nyina because there are key things bia e wo mu asaya nsua de a na enye serious
bobo so e
right ni nyina ne say according to investigation results wa aba ne kire say obekai a
ansa video ne wa tikitwa bi ne abọ no ntie di hu nkomo
ha sare bi e betwetia right nsam ne ba ya ye pick black box no ye di kopiem e wo China esan say ye nhede ne yakade a ye de be black box no hu investigation na ye de ko China ba ye no and with the help of black box ni investigations no a conclude say plane no wabra na eba betu afri Accra akọ boase no early in the morning na we say 8 a.m. but na weather ni nya papa enti omu delay kakra na omu tu yo omu kọ no ekwam na emframa DB that friend downdraft omu a omu nim aviation any science when dem omu nim say emframa DB ti bo free soro eba from straight na sam frama ni bi ena boy na helicopter no esan say emunye drunti no emframa no eho odense na epia na ade ne ba forma na entimi en lift enkosoro a enam so ma oyene wei ekosi ye
enti omo a na omo okrom ho ibi kwa na nye kro no so kro foforo
okay
ai ye hu driver bia no ochem say helicopter no ebe fa omo ti so pe o
mo
eho nyina na perform
anti that time no na emframa den no apem na ba form a entimi mpagya
na no ampa ba bia lande
right with this no na eniema makwa dem na wasan afri ne kwan so enti ase abona manayira ohu ba bia wo fa ena mfama no so wone soro enti ontimi nkosoro biem eno na nam so e ma problem we nyina ekosi ye
ontimi nkosoro ase no ase wo ba fom
nkano ase wo ba fom right according to investigation omo say na manfa adwe omo say e bia pilot no e mistake bi but with the help of black box no omatimi a discover say pilot no anya mistake na mum eye weather no na ebiti omo wana omu tu no
na de koso o ayi mu no omu famra na nyire ntie bi
audio so no erotom say ebi o ho a for security reasons any eniama ba ku mienu bi nti no enya de omu di audio no beba meti but omu access audio na ye bibia wie e na omu kire mu so we ne koba ye na after everything no there is one key thing a woman a mistake say ensua dia na say bi ensua dia bi
but na omusi we say amehwe no across the crash helicopter met all basic safety requirement but lack additional safety measures
mo the right into washa eniema plane hia no na woni nyina bi o
but na lack eniema bi
other safety measures e bi ye including almost 12 rakra na weather ne nye no omanhu omanim up to oboase se weather ne ye koduru ho anase enye omutu no akra anopa 8 am also omutu ana enya omudile ye no omanya ade a omudi behu omanim ewo kumase ne oboase ehu se ehoye nti these are some of the things here we need to put in place aside that there was one key thing there was a Ghana Air Force helicopter no within every 1 week biano and this a fly more than 10 hours. But Sawasha, according to reports, na plane na fly more than 10 hours. And ti ebinswa, yeka se na fall to be anymore. Na fall to him all right, but ebet miswa ba say bibi wo wa omunim nti omo say he shouldn't fly more than 10 hours within a week. And ti a short trips from maybe Accra to Cape Coast. Na home Accra to Kumasi. Until within a week, you know, and it's a fly baby, but when it maybe not a fly more than the limit. It's not more than a crown above from Kaka. A very sad. Me debi ameka say obi wa reason ba ko pe entina efunu no ye pai. Enye se funu no be sorry bi mo on sorry. But asem ni say ye hu de eku na ye betima sia no kwan a enku obi biem. Nti enei enipa nwotwene de right anyame for mo kranse eyara hosem edema Ghana ne o mabusuafo but at this moment yenyin tum say ye mistakes bia these safety measures any other safety measures are yehia empo omo yira wo mo kwan mu no right na ye hu omo free omo radar ne so no na ye ntimi hu omo enti ye behia more advanced machines ya se plane be yira wo ne kwan mu a ye betima discover in term ehun ba bi owo na yetima save no say yetimi put these things in place but at range say no ye betima see but enye easy say ebi beto ye bim
and say aroho
very bad
empanifo kukudam
yeah
amemfa wo mukra ensie yi eno de say ya na beba
of course
say ya na beba
yeah
ya hwehwem ya behwehwem se dian se we wo ma wo wi
the end of the day me de enye me surprise because minim say said you ko ma wu awie no rota ye ba be kan it say story say we na see ye ye na obetimi aye esi awie ontimi nya hwemfa ho but said you kan ye no rota niema nkitinkiti bi nso ho a most especially security issues the footages any audio a ye kai security matters and ade ne say security aircraft nti very difficult say omo be release bibia into ye disposal say ye na ye everything
the expense say no na wada na enye bo na asie
wada na enye because senanka ye won fidi papa e betimi de ehwe nima ke be hu say within that time no enframa bi wo wie ma anoye din ya down draft na e betima bobo helicopter no nti ke be suspend kakra but asem ni nyina no but ye nim fidi papa nti no but ye hu sa nyima no we don't say si obabia but very bad
commander yemfa sansem ni sina enkotie nsam abronya dia tudwa na ekoba information bi wachi abronya is in trouble quick one yenhwe wemra
NDC nyese yes man krofo ma o mako say ni yo ye ko constituent we akwa ko bisawo party no regional chairman national executive founding fathers council of elders ye chia wo mu sia ye no wo ma take decision say election 2028 o mu ba be kono enye easy for the NDC onu nyentia o ma hu say ewuo kase do manim abatuo mu wuo enye nipa wuo ewuo kase in the sense that woma adwene akomachi ewo abatuo mu abakosem Ghana ha leader a odo omo free military eba ye betena so di free 1992 ebesi the year 2000 otwa na mrewie ya okono Flight Lieutenant Jerry John Rawlings the brow serve wie ye no constitution na yire no na oye no ho hwe enyere enye yie nti na say NDC ekope new candidate ba at that time na NPP atikuo no foforo na fena yenya emfie nwotwe 1992 to the year 2000 elections na ya lusu 92 abokoto parliamentary na ya lusu 96 Emma Jerry John Rawlings biti ko for 1.5 million votes nkrana omuti social media mu ye na say no they don't know that history need data on what happened in 1996 general election between Kofuor. Rawlings between close to 1.5 million. Close to 1.5. At that time, now for the party na yede, abu. Tiaba ko 2000 ebe ye ni. But na NDC di atena danwa hu say abana ye be kono. Some people say candidate here NDC will win. Me twi wadwina si obakai na oyira fi because maya ne ma unsia de
abroye ya kama di me kai pa
ma unsa enti sa obakaya NPP primaries in 1998 na NDC esisi akire trying to manipulate the process to say it's a Kufuor lusu sa elections no yenim nkrofo binuma na omone NDC nye fine but ye be kosa abato no NDC fa omo adamfo se be ya sa nkrofo no mom wini a ebebo omo ni nti omo adopt sa strategy no NDC in 1998 no mom pese Kufuor be winning NPP primaries because womo twa NDC no mu a womo marketing candidate bia womo fa candidate bia nko abato because Rawlings eko nti so mo ye mistake pe asema to mo nti kofo de ye mpena nim ayere ahwe ni enti ana mo pe new candidate ni say wo mo so the new candidate beba enti ese NPP so the new candidate ba me no nyina gina the same scale Ghana fo nim wo men so Ghana fo nyere enim na chese ababa yese ye pemko dia han what advantage the one in government munim no Hey, do your own research. Ewo wiase abatuo nyina. Baby a two candidate behia. Wo mu ye new candidate for the two major political parties no. Wo mu ye new candidate to the two major political party no. Incumbent government no we ni.
Incumbent said as near Yedimuno, another Dibia Familia, very familiar.
Yes, I'm the Abanet, so now the new candidate. To say, Baby Abakwa Batu Bia, I see. So political parties, you know, the new candidate never. Political party or Teso at that time, no, our advantage over wow, the new candidate or your opposition.
Because your market, you know that, and
that be so. Your friend say, incumbency advantage.
Incumbency, okay, and it's well known.
Yes, but so coming you now, Korea, and this no money old candidate. Into no more per se MPP the new candidate, but in the year 2000. Until omo prayer nye MPP delegates at the time. APA no say no. We made a mistake changing Aduboahin. Na adwene bata chire ni say yes san Aduboahin ye benya power 96 but we lost. Enti yes san candidate going into 2000 elections in India. And we besana lusu nti delegates ni constituency for nyina omuko siaye e wo sunyan Christ the community derby the 1995 presidential prime minister MPP yes san do boahin it was a mistake so this time ran yen san kofo ya de kofo no beko nti omuto aba no kofo won ye de ko for the second time and this is ukoyi Professor Mens na on call presidential elections da enti ye ba be ko run off na 43-48 unim ni enti anakofo ya ahead of Atames ni enti ye ko 2000 nakofo ye head of Atames ne say one Ghana ha ababia ye beto bia na sympathy vote aye de ewom na sa sympathy vote no metima ka kiro say emu 65% eye man ne deba e ma wo sa humobro no oh papa ina
said ipa no wakobio na
wanya na oba biem no onya ne ye frɛ no sympathy vote oh papa ide na no wanya ye me ya pa o afi we dia meto ama no eno ne ye ka no say sympathy vote no enti ya ba 2000 elections no na Atames nkwa abato order no ne former president Kofo di ko gina mu Kofo akwa abato the year 96 ya Ghana fo nim no nti wadi nkukuo ana oba biem ye ma so no na Atames ye dai eda fam because na holding will fam to beat an old presidential candidate in the opposition party. That is EOCO. Not Atames. Afena na NDC dene kwa chere Ghana for. Nti no nia hodin obetima ye dey abiti kofo. Enti wamo kase. Do Mahama nya 56% na binsi da no. saa mmeranteɛ ne ɛyɛ nuanom nketewa ne yɛ nuanom maa binom a yɛma ɔmo sika te social media ɛkeka nyinaa no wɔn ni fast bi abata ne ɔmo ka no the year 2000 abatoɔ no President Kufuor had 56%. Nti ma obi a by force yɛmfa presidential candidate ne ma no nkɔdaadaa mabunu bi ntra social media ne WhatsApp platform so ɛnka sɛ Ghana ha yɛnto aba a ebi nsi da sɛ obi anya 56%. In any case Lawrence anya 57 da Kufuor abenya 56 da ɛna naano JM yɛ den 56 nti saa records no yɛ dɛ wɔ hɔ na party a yɛte ne foforo ne yakɔ abatoɔ ne mienu so na ɔma biti close to 1.5 million yabama mu yɛ
okay commander
yeah director
Kwame Bafo Abronye ɔse NDC eba be wu
okay
2028
okay
na NPP kwa de wo ye wo party
director we
Ghana phone kasa wo ba be wu na wo no sa twa ho koka NDC for no say wo mo ba be wu 2028
meanwhile all party no one kasa na wo gu no wo na wo poison na okowura party ma ugu party no right I win abronya na no there is something wrong and then the communication no there was one positive thing and so no negative esatare ho the positive thing is that there be a odi atem and am for simani ni atem and na oba ya oni atem no na say ma o kan so abanim
and so abansanim
the right na kire say abronya either say obedi atem ana oni atem you can be rest assured say on kanyansasem in this case the right abronya ka kire say sympathy vote we agree sympathy vote ho nembom enei said o check the population of Ghana youth no endorse no the right sa nkwase sympathy vote say
eni obi
akwapere wanya
eni obi
etin hwan me mobo no enya adwuma
ye hwe adwuma wo ba beye no 8 years no
mo
it is a 2028 ni dura ye be check NPP o modwuma mo ye no 8 years
mo
ne the NDC dia so within 4 years ato ne ya hwe say ai wo ba no dollar no be fa no 4 cedi
okay
ye ne ti ye na do 17 asaba ai 15
okay
ne ya hwe NDC so ba within 4 years
okay
dollar e bia o mo ba be te so aba from eniama na nko bum 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 ti said na MPP de yi kwei o matua sa bo modern ateche o mo wiwi ska bia eno nko enough
right eno the biggest sympathy vote to a party benya because
ena mintwa no enen so be hwa o man Ghana no amanfo nhye da ntu kwan sa e di nti na amanfo nhye da ntu kwan
director in the last 4 years said na Ghana for etu kwan na enti esi 2025 mu no as a trend no asesa kaka the point is amanfo shall say again interest because what edrumre bi inflation hit 54%. Emi ya who say inflation hit 54% no. I reflected because okotofo no we ya upie na de china okwa yesi ya tuni boom but enei we agree say even a more sack in ketwa no there are 4 kg and 5 kg no e be about 60 cedis 70 Ghana cedis ya in this open sympathy vote wa me a me ho kire me a na me to e mo 5 kg no me turn 120 cedis ya enei me ko turn 80 cedis no se me mpe NDC candidate mpo a oba ya me hwe NPP ni no na ma hwe NDC ni no I will say NDC ni at least na oye part of government na omuma niema ba forma me so mitimi didi me ye no ene out of that thing no ma me for sympathy and trouble man anka onye me preferred candidate but me to aba man right abronye ntia say nkoma na odi kire ye no eni yam political system ni mu biem because obia ni ho organ ha enei ontimi ntwenken kaka krabia entimi ntwenken kan no with the help of social media into tie President Kufuor de na in 2000 no na social media na nti say na President Kufuor na onya opportunity wa ban nti say on council so say President Kufuor na oni MPP omon testy power da engineer ni mo omon san no nti out of sympathy amount for adwene be omon say omunye bi da yen try omon hwe but enei amount for clear evidence they have clear idea
yes and Ghana politics necessary
mo say Dr. Mahmoud Bamian MPP for current leaders here we omo bada ɛna ɔmo ba adwuma na nkoye dollar kodru ba bi eduru ye better god for oil nkoma ye di scandals ahodoɔ ɛne nneɛma ɛkɔ so nkyɛ te sade a ɛda so yɛ mu no wɔ yɛ adwem yɛn compare the last 8 years of MPP no yɛn hwɛ NDC 4 years better yɛ comparison then we choose from the eyema yen enti sympathy na ɛwɔ hɔ no na social media ni hɔ na MPP ma power da na former president Kofo onsomoi ɛwɔ aban mu da in the fourth republic enti Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia ni case is very different wasom as vice president as head of economic management team right aside that NPP atena aban mu in 16 years yɛhwɛ wɔ mo nsa no especially the last 8 years nti sɛ yɛ judge a yɛde madwuma sympathy sɛ bia ni babia hyɛ ne nson
ɛsɛ no deɛ wo sɛ ka kyɛ abro nyɛ ne sɛ ɛyɛ MPP mom na ɛba bewu ɛnyɛ NDC
of course
deɛ MPP ayɛ looking at things no hwɛ nneɛma din a ɛyɛ MPP mom na ɛkɔ akɔwu 2028 ɛnyɛ NDC
of course
nti ɔnyɛ ne yie
even NDC na over 2/3 of parliament unity wo ɛkyɛn MPP na wayɛ mmerɛ no ntɔkwa ewo mmerɛ sa to so sɛ NDC
ɛne pa
abronye betimi aka kyerɛ obi a obewu ne obi obenya nkwa onkwaji nkonya na wahye agu ɛwɔ no region no onye sa nkonya ne mmerɛ MPP otimi giba wi a I will accept to say onim politics
yɛn fancy but then commander yɛ kɔ no yɛsɛn bɛ sisi yɛ
of course
yɛka ifo nyina